Welcome aboard the safest airline in Africa. With industry-leading safety measures to protect your well-being. The first in Africa to earn a diamond standard of safety. Offering a more contactless, safe, and seamless experience. Delivered with a smile by Africa's first fully vaccinated crew. Creating special memories that bring the joy back to flying, so you can continue making memories with your loved ones. Book your flight with Rwandair today. Rwandair, the safest airline in Africa.
Rwandair, fly the dream of Africa.
Interventions in the agribusiness space to make the reality come true. Because the topic for this session is, how can Africa capitalize on its agribusiness potential or sector as a sustainable human and economic solution? That's the topic for this panel in front of you. It's not the issue of do we disagree whether agribusiness can be the sustainable human and economic solution. It's about the how. And that how is very wide across the various value chains, and this is why I suggested I'll leave a few question marks and opinions here, because the panel is just going to make some pronouncements shortly. The question is it a problem of raw materials? Is it a problem of infrastructure? Is it a human capital? Is it a skill set? Is it a access to finance, as many people say? I personally, from experience, think that's not a problem. Because there's so much money in this planet, or in this continent, Africa, chasing so many few SMEs in agribusiness. Is it going to be, the new terminology in this town is agri-entrepreneurs. They try and combine it to call it agripreneurs. And many of the youth will tell you, with fintech, we shall change the world. I don't know whether we have an app that makes food yet. And then, of course, it then comes down to, is it the trade barriers to a certain extent? Is it too many seminars? I intentionally wanted to say this. We do a lot of talking. We come to these summits, we have come to these conferences, and we talk about agribusinesses, we talk about smallholder farmers. Some of us have our parents as smallholder farmers. Some of us are feeding off agriculture every day. But I'm not sure whether many of us are agri-entrepreneurs. Or are we doing it for charity, or are we doing it for fun? It's going to be interesting questions. So I think with that, and those thoughts, I really thought this should streamline and trigger a discussion. And that discussion should then get us to address the various issues around poverty and food security, things around youth and women involvement. Today, there are many people talking about, oh, we have funds, we have interventions to support the women, we have interventions to support the youth, we have gender lens, sensitivity, climate smart, ESG. We'll talk about all these things. But in practice, is it about them in terms of turning our agribusinesses as a sustainable solution to the human challenges and the economic challenges for Africans? Thank you all. Okay.
Thank you very much, Edward.
Yeah.
You have raised a number of extremely important points, but I will not repeat what you have said. I want to come to our panelists. Each of you has 2 minutes to add more to what Edward has said. But Edward, all the questions, the points, the questions you've raised, the World Bank in its report, I think in 2014, raised some of those. And in its prediction, it said by 2030, if we address all those great stuff, Africa will be a 1 trillion, African agribusiness will be a 1 trillion market. Rather industry, 1 trillion per year, industry. If you think about it, at that time, the Ugandan economy, GDP, was 25 billion at that time. That if Uganda only targeted 5% of that industry, would more than double our GDP at the time. But here lies the question. How can Africa capitalize on its agribusiness sector, that 1 trillion potential, as a sustainable human and economic solution? How? Josephine, you have a first go at it.
I'm reminded that we needed to introduce ourselves. My name is Josephine Nakomo Mukumbia. I'm the Executive Director at Agribusiness Development Center, and we are founded by both Rabo Foundation and DFCU Limited. And the idea behind the founding is to actually develop capacities. So one of the questions that came up on Edward's list, I mean Edward is Singoma in this case, is it human capacity? Is it skill? Because sometimes we are too much in running for the money, but the money is not the end all. Yes, money is king, but it is not the end all. How to use it, how to even source it, how to know where to find it, and how to use it are quite critical, especially if we are now thinking about not just agriculture, but agribusiness. So, looking at how can Africa capitalize, I think Edward said it very well. This is not a case of thinking about possibility. Do we have the capacity, or is this our potential? That's a given. It is clear it is the potential. We have the population that countries like Italy would die for, and the growth rate to follow it. We have the resources, earlier panels mentioned, that many countries would die for, that the Chinese are coming out here for. But why aren't we capitalizing? So I would approach the how from, first of all, I would think focus. And this I'm picking up, I must confess, from a McKinsey report, looking at 2 different countries that have seen transformation on the continent, and these are known to us. This is Ethiopia, this is Morocco. Ethiopia is a lot like us, so maybe let's leave out Morocco and think about Ethiopia. We need to have a little bit more focus, even as a continent, in what enterprises are we targeting? Not everything. There's some where we have a little bit more competitiveness. We all know coffee. We really have a ready market, for instance. Particularly cocoa, when it comes down to the numbers, we have the best competitive edge from West Africa to compete anywhere in the world. So we can find those cash crops, those specific crops, even cassava, where we have the competitive edge and focus. But this focus is also on geography. It needs to be regional. Which regional hubs, which regional areas? And we can bring this down to an African country like Uganda if we just go on systemically focusing, and our plans usually have these focuses. We are focused on certain enterprises. The feedback we are getting now on review of our own plans is the focus too broad? Do we need all of these on our radar? Why don't we put a lot more emphasis on this coffee to really get the 20 bags in 2020, for instance? That target keeps shifting. But look at the price we could have gotten in this period. Let me move on from even geographies. Beyond focus is also a related issue of alignment to the National Development Plan. So many actors, the private sector, the public, the civil society, the power capitals, the commercial banks, but all of us not well coordinated in alignment to the plan and its delivery, which in a way creates focus. So if we just set out and say for the next 5 or so years, we need a move of these enterprises. So development partners, let's pool all our resources here. And Ethiopia and Rwanda actually have done that very well. In Rwanda, the money is pooled to one entity that is really providing a lot of the BDS. It is not spread out. So in a way, it focuses them on creating value and getting one enterprise really moving, creating the employment they all need. Technology, it is the innovativeness that is going to make us, what is the word called, leapfrog some of the challenges. And I'll always use the example of a mobile phone. If Africa or Uganda particularly had waited to go planting poles for phones, we would still be way behind. But we did catch up because of a new way, a new approach, and that's the mobile phone. We can use the same mobile phone even for the issue of weather you pointed out. There is local, more accurate weather management that can be deployed. So we need to be open to innovativeness, and maybe we have to thank the government of Uganda in that regard in terms of creating a whole ministry. But all the support and all, we need to rally around these ministries and rally our interventions. At ADC, we do a lot of e-learning capacity building. Our main challenge is how to reach out where the need is so apparent when the connectivity is not there. So recently we've been in talks with people at NITA, looking at their plan. If they are deciding to move into these districts and into this direction over the next 3 years, maybe that's where also this particular move from our side should be, because you need the connectivity. Nonetheless, I'm also pleased to know that there's more effort or more planned to see connectivity, because connectivity will open the door to even market information, not just market information, but aggregation. So it is very critical even for the parish model to be real functional, to get reporting directly. What is the other issue? I would say public-private partnerships, and I think we've had a lot of that from the previous channels. I won't go through that. So I would also conclude my 2 minutes by saying that we need a lot of intra-trade within. I worked a long time ago, I must say, in United Bank for Africa, and I had the privilege of meeting he now left, but Mr. Tony, I will not mention the other name, Olemolu, but he had this vision of a bank that could actually, instead of us doing all our transactions out of Africa, he always had a view that Africa should do more. Africa should be able to do its own collections. Why does money have to go to city to come back to Uganda? Nonetheless, that still happens. We all send our money. But the view is still there, and I'm seeing his push. I'm thinking that this Africa Free Trade continental area is really a lot like that. We need to start to aspire to do more, even at a regional level. I worked with one of, what are they called, dairy entities. He tapped into a very growing dairy company, dairy opportunity, and invested in southwestern Uganda, started making tinned milk, started exporting, and before you knew it, he was on the shelves of the region, specifically Kenya. Then we were hit by the issue of quality. Maybe it's a trade barrier, maybe it's an excuse, but the reality is we don't know the bacteria in our milk. It's a fact. We really don't follow the aflatoxins in our maize. It's a fact. So there's things we can still do from within, and I know then he got into talks with North Africa, and North Africa was very interested, but they really were very keen on seeing the quality. So today I saw in the papers experts urging us to think of quality, to tap into markets in the region, to tap into markets which will reward the quality improvements. One of our main reasons for why aflatoxins will be aflatoxins in Uganda is because me who does something to dry properly is not rewarded for the effort. My maize will be taken at the same price from farm gate. So there is no reward for the extra effort I'll put in. So the experts were telling us we need to reward this. So as we think of intra-trade, as we think of regional trade, quality becomes key at our local farm gate levels, but also at a national level. How much are we investing to see that quality becomes key? I really think it's feasible. I remain to be hopeful that we can actually transform our continent with agriculture, but there are some key fundamental infrastructural developments that we also need to set alongside this development and this hope to let it happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Josephine. Of course, some of the points you have raised have been talked about a couple of times. In 2011, the whole of continent was here in Uganda, talking about how finance can work for Africa. and they came up with 11 principles, they called it Kampala principles. And one of them was actually on focus. And then the Africans, through the African Union, under the CADIP, the Continental, the Comprehensive Africa Agribusiness Plan, they also said each African country must focus on at least 5 value chains, max 5 value chains. But so many years later, you're only citing 2 countries in the whole continent. Where could be the problem? Maybe you ponder on that. Do we talk much more than we can do? So ponder on the question, but as Florence comes on the floor, to use her 2 minutes to introduce herself, but also attempt also to answer the question, how can Africa capitalize on its agribusiness sector as a sustainable human and economic solution?
Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Florence Nagawa, and I'm the Executive Director of the Association of Vanilla Exporters of Uganda. We call ourselves VANEX. In the interest of time, I'll make my remarks really short by picking up points from my fellow panelists. I'd prepared a narrative, but I think Dr. has ably, summed it up. I'll pick the point which Doctor talked about on subsistence agriculture, and Josephine's point on focus. As we all know that at least 70%, 75% of African population is engaged in agriculture, and 65% of that population is actually subsistence agriculture. One of the guidance questions we were fronted to ponder about was, should we do away with subsistence agriculture as a way of amplifying and fast-tracking Africa's agribusiness sector? My answer to that would actually be no. We are going to be with subsistence agriculture because you can see the greatest population of our population is in subsistence agriculture, and definitely the resources for them to ever amplify and to grow their business will not be there in a long time. What do we need to do to ensure that we improve efficiency, we maximize production and productivity at their level and within the limitation of their resources? I would like to refer to an example of planned, structured, predictable, and profitable focus value chain. It goes back to the point of focus by using an example of Kenya. Kenya as a country is one of the leading exporters of fruits and vegetables in the world from Africa. And that industry of horticulture, fruits and vegetables in Kenya is really, of course, the bigger companies are there, but they are linked with the smallholder farmers in Kenya. What has happened in that industry is that the value chain is so linked that the big companies or farms are so interlinked with these smallholder farmers, providing capacity, providing training, extension, ensuring they have access to affordable, not only affordable, but the right inputs, they use the right seeds, they have the extension services, they have access to finances, they are organized, they are trained, they have aggregation points, they are trained about quality management even at a farmer level. They are really thoroughly trained where they have that interlinkage. So we are seeing a focused, planned and structured value chain that is really profitable for the country like Kenya, simply because it is organized and focused. I would also like to talk about do we need more finances in agriculture? When you read all this literature, the workshops we go to, everyone is talking about, oh, we need more investment. Access to finance is a limitation to the potential of agribusiness. Yes, rightly true, but sometimes it's not really about those finances. It's about the focus that enterprises should go for. For example, let's look about coffee in Uganda. Our government has focused on growing the coffee sector in Uganda. through aggregating grants, investment, training, marketing, regulating, and we are seeing a fruit of that focused intervention to grow in that value chain. And who are the people involved in the coffee value chain in Uganda? They are smallholders. We don't really have commercial farms. We just have, like, I think, one or two, Kaweri Coffee Factory. But the suppliers of that coffee are over 1.7 million smallholder coffee farmers. And because of the focus our government has put in that sector, we are seeing the predicted or the desired growth in improved yield and quantity of coffee being produced by smallholders. So I think I've made my point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Florence. Dr. Sakara, I think I saw you online. Please introduce yourself and make a contribution to this exciting question on how can Africa capitalize on its agribusiness sector as a sustainable human and economic solution.
Good afternoon, and let me say habari za mchana to my colleagues in East Africa. Two issues. I'd like to make a foundation statement and then digress on that to cover some of the topics that have been mentioned. We can capitalize on agribusiness sector as a sustainable human and economic solution through ensuring land rights for people living on the land, implementing policies that attract capital and productivity whilst reducing operational and capital transaction costs to make producers and processors competitive, primarily in domestic and also eventually in external markets. Now, much to unpack that, we start from, say, the cost of capital, which I have heard mentioned, and the systems change that we want to hear about financing in agriculture. I think we need to be very clear that when we talk about the systems change for financing in agriculture, we're not talking about donors supporting particular projects, then they work well, but then we can't scale them up with the local financial systems. We're not talking really about the government-funded projects that reduce transaction costs for crops that they want to export, like coffee or cocoa. We're really talking about those farmers who have access to neither of these and need to implement investments on local banking systems and cost of capital. Now, the reason this is important is because our own central banks themselves have a problem with regulating the cost of capital in order that it not just enables an environment, but empowers their own indigenous entrepreneurs to be competitive in their own marketplaces. And this forms the foundation. I've heard the question said, is it capital, is it finance, is it human technology, etc. It's all of those things. But they exist in a hierarchical order if you want to solve the solution. And if you start off with capital costs that is not productive for agriculture, then no matter the technology, the human capacity building, etc., you'll find yourself at a loss. And that is why we need to observe one reality. How many of the rich people in our countries got their wealth from agriculture? How many of the rich people in our countries are investing their money in agriculture? For the most part, they're running away from it. And that is because it is more profitable and easier to get your returns to capital investment in other sectors. And until the channels are reorganized so that you can get that in the agricultural sector, you will not be getting returns that will make bigger investments. You will not be getting the youth going into agriculture to make careers for themselves. And this is why
iNation is your go-to website for exclusive content with in-depth stories, analysis, and detailed coverage. Sign up with these quick and easy steps. Visit www.monitor.co.ug. Sign up for free for a limited period of time with either Facebook or Google. Or you can enter your email address, password, followed by your phone number. Click Sign Up. You are now a registered user. Your privacy will be protected when you share information with us. This registration is part of our effort to understand our audiences and make better business decisions to serve you better. For any queries, please contact us on 0312 301 230 or email us at customercareug@ug.nationmedia.com. Monitor, powered by Nation. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to Nobel.
Internet is not only important, but is part of us now. We use it in our studies, at work, home, and while going about our daily errands. However, an inconsistent internet connection is common and can be frustrating. But the good news is, we are here to the rescue. At Rock Telecom, we strive to promote integrity, dependability, innovation, customer service, and open-mindedness. Visit our website www.rocktelecom.co.ug for more information. Rock Telecom. Rock Telecom is licensed by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Welcome aboard the safest airline in Africa. With industry-leading safety measures to protect your well-being. The first in Africa to earn a diamond standard of safety. Offering a more contactless, safe, and seamless experience. Delivered with a smile by Africa's first fully vaccinated crew. Creating special memories that bring the joy back to flying, so you can continue making memories with your loved ones. Book your flight with Rwandair today. Rwandair, the safest airline in Africa.
Rwandair, fly the dream of Africa.
So we pick travelers, our typical customers are people flying in and out of the country. So we pick those from the airport to wherever they're going and back. And we do this through a network of driver partners for whom we give regular business and improve livelihoods. They can book through WhatsApp, they can call us, they can email us. You know, we just try to make it as simple and convenient, as seamless as possible for our customers.
What is creating shared value all about? CSV is short for Creating Shared Value. It is a powerful business management concept that can promote companies to think differently about their approach to social and environmental issues. It is a strategy for addressing society's challenges through profitable business models. It's all about policies and practices that enhance the competitiveness of companies while improving social and environmental conditions in the regions in which they operate. CSV is not CSR. Creating shared value goes beyond philanthropy or corporate social responsibility. Shared value is not about personal values.